women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts. The trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Womansplaining, How Women Manipulate Insufferably, written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. The Man Who Thinks Is Already Dead. How Feminism, Marxism, and the Cult of Female Emotion Murdered Reason. And why your opinion on her tough topic is a trial by ordeal you can't win. I once watched a man educated, articulate, even read Nietzsche, nod along like a trained chihuahua while his girlfriend lectured him on how men invented gender roles to oppress women, and how he needed to check his privilege for daring to suggest biology matters. This wasn't in some Berkeley coffee shop. It was in a Dallas suburb over burgers, while their toddler screamed in the high chair. I wanted to scream too. You're not a man, you're a eunuch with a driver's license. That moment wasn't an anomaly, it was the rule. Across this dying continent, men surrender their minds not to war, but to women who weaponize emotion like a cudgel and call it communication. They are not arguing. They are executing psychological compliance drills. And the reward is not love, it's temporary survival. You think I'm exaggerating? Let's do the math. 40% of marriages end in divorce, 70% of those initiated by women, and in family courts, fathers lose custody 80% of the time, even when no abuse exists. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed, a genocentric tribunal where men are presumed guilty of being men. And yet you'll find men in therapy paying $200 an hour to be told they need to listen more and validate her feelings, as if they're debugging a faulty toaster, not being slowly erased from their own lives. I've seen men locked up for commenting women aren't doctors on Facebook, while clinics hand out puberty blockers to teenagers so they can figure out their gender. At the same time, male suicide rates have tripled since the 1990s, the sharpest spike ever recorded, while female rates have stayed nearly flat. Is it a coincidence? No, it's direct cause and effect. When you rob a man of his purpose, his identity, his future as a father, with DNA tests now showing 1 in 10 kids not biologically tied to the man raising them, and then label him the villain, you don't get fairness, you get graves. The left understands this. That's why they avoid real debate. They spread ideas like a virus. They don't use reason. They push critical legal theory to twist justice into punishment, trans-Marxism to erase biological reality, and guilt-driven tactics to turn affection into manipulation. I once heard a woman say, "I don't need him to be strong. I need him to be there when I'm lost in a crowd." That's false. It's a power play masked as need. If you don't step up when she can't find you at the airport, she'll later tell others you disappeared from the relationship. It's not about security, it's about dominance. And if you spend your days catering to her constant emotional demands instead of building real value, instead of gaining expertise, creating work, training your body, fasting, or deepening your faith, you'll end life with nothing but proof of payments to her counselor. Time isn't currency. Time is forever lent to you. Every second you surrender to progressive blame games, forced pronoun rituals, or mandatory inclusion lectures is a second ripped from your spirit. The mirror of the mind, testing critical thought in a sea of lies. He who once forfeits the privilege of free thought will never recover it. Arthur Schopenhauer, Dave stood at the gas station in Ohio like a shadow caught in fluorescent light, staring blankly at the Slurpee machine, his face strained, jaw tight. He was 42, a construction worker, father to 3, now stripped of custody for one reason. He questioned his wife's sudden shift. After a decade of marriage, she claimed a new identity, came out as a lesbian, and began dating women. The court ignored his role as provider, his presence at every school play, every soccer game, every birthday. It didn't matter that she'd cheated. What mattered was that he thought, he paused, he doubted, he spoke. And in this era where feeling reigns supreme and dissent is seen as aggression, a man who uses his mind becomes dangerous. Not because he harms anyone, but because he challenges the unchallenged. In systems built on unchecked emotion, logic isn't just dismissed, it's punished. Feminism didn't just redefine equality, it redefined thinking itself. The phrase critical thinking, once the crown jewel of Western education, has been hollowed out and replaced with a cultic chant, agree with the woman or be cast out. You don't critically think in a relationship when she says the dog is sad because it's Tuesday, you nod. You don't critically think when she claims men invented math to oppress women, you smile. You don't critically think when she says your son should wear a dress to preschool. You hand over the credit card. This isn't critical thought. This is Stockholm Syndrome with a sociology degree. Camille Paglia, that lioness of reason, warned decades ago that feminism was mutating into a religion of emotional authoritarianism, and she was laughed out of the academy. Today, she's the Cassandra no one heeded until the city burned. Let's apply Aristotle's organon to the feminist syllogism. If oppression is bad and patriarchy is oppression, then patriarchy must be destroyed. Clean on paper. But only if the premises are true. What if patriarchy isn't oppression? What if it's the architecture of civilization, the reason we have cities, not caves? What if the nuclear family, male provision, and social hierarchy aren't tools of domination, but bulwarks against chaos? The feminist movement assumes patriarchy is inherently oppressive, but offers zero proof, only feelings. And feelings aren't data, they're noise. You can't build a legal system, a moral code, or a civilization on vibes. Yet that's exactly what we've done. And now men are paying with their freedom, their children, and their lives. The psychological toll. Let's talk numbers. According to the CDC, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women, and the highest risk group. Divorced men, not divorced women. Men, why? Because we're not just losing wives, we're losing agency. We're conditioned to believe that our value lies in pleasing women, in absorbing their moods, in silencing our dissent. Evolutionary psychology shows that men are hardwired to seek status and purpose. But modern gynocentrism reduces us to emotional service animals. We're told to listen, validate, and hold space while women scream, manipulate, and abandon. And when we finally say no, we're labeled toxic, abusive, or emotionally stunted. The irony. The most emotional person in the room is usually the woman, but she's never called out, because in this inverted world, female emotion is epistemic privilege, male logic is violence. Walk into any university gender studies class and you'll see it. Men nodding along as a woman claims that biology is a colonial construct, that menstruation can happen in men, that pronouns are more real than chromosomes. These men aren't stupid, they're castrated, not physically, though that's coming with the rise of chemical castration in family court, but intellectually. They've been conditioned to believe that truth is secondary to harmony, and harmony means submission. I've read Reddit threads from Our Men's Rights, where men confess they've lied to their wives about everything from politics to pizza toppings, not because they're deceitful, but because disagreement leads to punishment. One man wrote, "I told her I liked her new haircut. It looked like a raccoon got electrocuted on her head, but I didn't want another 3 weeks of silent treatment. This isn't love, this is hostage negotiation." Schopenhauer was right. When a woman asks a man his opinion, she is testing obedience. It's not about truth, it's about power. And if you give the wrong answer, even if it's factually correct, you're mocked. I've seen it in divorce forums, men recounting how they lost custody because they disagreed with their wife about climate change, or vaccines, or whether pineapple belongs on pizza. The family court system doesn't care about reason, it cares about compliance. And the man who thinks independently is a danger to the matriarchal order, hence the epidemic of male silence. Hence the rise of MGTO not as a hate movement but as a survival strategy. These men aren't angry at women, they're disillusioned, they've seen the script, they know the game. So how do we reclaim our minds? With the red pill Socratic method, relentless questioning. Why is female emotion treated as truth? Who benefits? What happens when men stop agreeing? Ask these questions out loud, in public, in your home. One man I worked with, a former teacher, kept a journal during his divorce. On day 1 he wrote, "I apologize for existing." By day 90, after reading Aristotle, Nietzsche, and Summers, he wrote, "I'm not a servant. I am a man. My mind is my own." He fought for his kids, he lost. But he gained something more, dignity. And that's the first step, not winning custody, not winning back a woman, but winning back your reason. You are not here to validate female emotion. You are here to pursue truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's punished. The living spirit of Western civilization wasn't built by men who nodded along. It was built by men who thought, who questioned, who defied. From Socrates drinking hemlock rather than recant, to Galileo saying "I per si muove," to Solzhenitsyn speaking truth in the Gulag, the canon of greatness is written in defiance of lies. And today's lies are dressed up as compassion, inclusion, and empathy. Don't be fooled. The most oppressive regimes always wear kind faces, and the soft tyranny of female emotional dominance is no different. Break the spell. Reclaim your mind, or die a quiet death in a slurpy aisle, wondering what happened to your soul. I once believed I was the problem, that if I just listened more, agreed more, suppressed my instincts more, I'd finally be loved, accepted, included. But after years of watching women weaponize emotion, academia peddle lies, and men kneel like eunuchs in the court of feminist absurdity, I realized the rot wasn't in me, it was in the system. The truth isn't negotiable, and sanity doesn't bend to feelings. So I stopped playing the game. And now, every time I hear a grown man referred to as a pregnant person, or a little girl told she can't define woman by biology, I see the same mechanism at work. Language hijacked, reality inverted, men silenced. Which brings us to the linguistic coup, the precise moment when words stopped meaning anything at all. The transgender marks, how identity politics became the new Inquisition. You know that old Soviet joke? They pretend to pay us, and we pretend to work. That's exactly what's happening in the woke gender circus. They pretend to be women, and we're forced to pretend they're telling the truth. And if you blink wrong, you're branded a bigot, a hater, a dangerous reactionary. But let me tell you something, brother. When a 6'4", 250-pound man with a beard walks into a women's restroom claiming he's a woman internally, and the university administration backs him, while you get expelled for using the word biological female, that isn't progress. That's tyranny wearing a rainbow tutu. Language is not a playground for deranged ideologues, it's the architecture of reality. Wittgenstein warned us, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. When Marxists hijack words like woman, sex, and body, they aren't expanding understanding, they're collapsing meaning. A woman is no longer defined by biology, but by self-identification, which means the word now means nothing. It's like redefining prime number to include even numbers, and then wondering why your rocket explodes. You can't build civilization on linguistic quicksand, and yet, that's precisely what the trans activists are doing, not to liberate, but to obfuscate, to control. When language breaks, reason dies, and brute force or bureaucratic decree takes over. That's not liberation, that's the soft coup of the mind. Look at what they're doing to our children. In California's Oakland Unified School District, kindergartners are handed the gender unicorn, a rainbow-colored diagram asking 5-year-olds to pick their gender identity, gender expression, sex assigned at birth, attraction to others, and emotional attraction. Let that sink in. We're asking toddlers to sexualize themselves before they can tie their shoes. In British Columbia, schools are told to keep a child's gender journey secret from parents. Yes, that's right. The state is legally empowered to lie to mothers and fathers while their kids are dosed with puberty blockers. These drugs, like Lupron, chemically castrate children, halting bone density growth, sterilizing them, and causing permanent brain fog. And for what? So, some gender studies professor can publish another paper on queer performativity. This isn't healthcare. This is child abuse dressed up as affirmation. And follow the money, always follow the money. The US spent $4.5 billion on gender-affirming care in 2023 alone. AbbVie, Endo, pharmaceuticals, and other drug conglomerates are raking in billions from puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. Meanwhile, universities are launching entire departments, gender studies, queer theory, transdisciplinarity, all funded by taxpayer dollars and staffed by ideologues who couldn't pass a logic exam if their lives depended on it. These departments don't produce engineers, doctors, or builders. They produce agitators, grievance mongers, and ideological shock troops. They're not educating, they're indoctrinating. And the end product? A generation of men and women who can't tell the difference between a uterus and a political statement. This is not about compassion, it's about possession. I call it ideological possession. The moment a person ceases to be an individual and becomes a mouthpiece for Marxist dogma. Their thoughts, their speech, their identity, all hijacked by a political virus. Take Keira Bell, a British woman who was pushed into medical transition at 16 by the NHS Gender Identity Development Service. She was struggling with trauma, autism, and depression, but instead of therapy, they gave her hormones and surgery. She sued the NHS, saying they failed to explore her psychological issues and treated her like a checklist. She's not alone. Detransitioners are rising, and their stories are being erased, silenced, or mocked by the very institutions that pushed them into irreversible procedures. But their pain is real, and their regret. That's the tax we all pay for ideological fanaticism. Let me tell you about a young man at the University of Vermont. Let's call him James, though that's not his real name. He was told that a non-binary student demanded everyone use they/them pronouns and insisted on using the women's restroom. James reasonably objected, not out of hatred, but because he believed in biological reality and women's privacy. He referred to the student by their birth name once, dead naming, and was hauled before a campus tribunal. He was forced to attend sensitivity training, write an apology letter, and was threatened with expulsion. Meanwhile, the non-binary student, a biological male, continued using the women's locker room. That's not justice. That's inversion. That's critical theory in action, oppressor and oppressed flipped, truth sacrificed at the altar of narrative. And where did this madness come from? Follow the thread. Marx said the struggle is economic bourgeoisie versus proletariat. Then the Frankfurt School, Adorno, Marcuse said, no, the struggle is cultural. Then Judith Butler came along and said, actually, gender is a performance, reducing biology to a costume change. Then Kate Bornstein declared, I'm not a woman, I'm post-gender, and the floodgates opened. Now we're told that sex is a spectrum, that men can menstruate, that pronouns are sacred, and that dissent is violence. This isn't evolution, it's devolution. It's the same old Marxist hatred of the natural order, repackaged with glitter and gender pronouns. The goal isn't inclusion, it's destruction. Of the family, of biology, of truth itself. The Judeo-Christian tradition teaches that the body is sacred. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? 1 Corinthians 6:19. But the Gnostic left, the new Puritans in rainbow robes, hate the body. They see it as a prison, a social construct, a limitation to be escaped. They'd rather live in a virtual identity than accept the gift of their physical being. C.S. Lewis saw this coming in The Abolition of Man. He called it men without chests, hollowed out by sentiment and severed from objective truth. And now we're living in that world, where a man can claim to be a woman can claim to be a dragon, and if you disagree, you're a fascist. But nature doesn't care about your pronouns, biology doesn't negotiate, and reality always bats last. So what's the remedy? Virtue, courage to speak the truth, temperance in the face of hysteria, justice that defends the weak, not the ideologically aggressive, and prudence, the wisdom to see through the lies. Study the great books, read Aristotle, Aquinas, Shakespeare, Dostoevsky. They knew human nature not as a malleable social construct, but as a fallen, glorious, tragic thing that needs discipline, not delusion. Reject the feminist lie that men are toxic. Reject the Marxist lie that biology is oppression. And reject the cowardice of the institutions that let this insanity flourish. You are not a bigot for believing in reality. You are not a hater for defending truth. You are a man or striving to be one, and the world needs men who can see, speak, and stand, not sheep in pronoun collars, not eunuchs of thought, men with spines, with logic, with laughter, with the unshakable knowledge that a woman is a female human being, and no amount of ideological gaslighting will ever change that. I have watched the law, once a fortress of reason and a shield for the innocent, twisted into a cudgel wielded by ideologues who cloak vengeance in virtue. And I realize the rot runs deeper than courtroom rulings. It festers in the very philosophy that now passes for legal thought, where justice is no longer blind but glaringly biased in service of a revolutionary agenda disguised as progress. The law of the lie, how critical legal theory weaponizes justice. The law is reason, free from passion. Aristotle, and that is precisely why the left hates it. Let me tell you what happened to James Thompson, a high school biology teacher in Springfield, Massachusetts, who spent 12 years grading labs, coaching debate club, and never once receiving a negative performance review. One day, a student declared they were changing their gender and demanded James use a new name and pronouns. James, a man of principle and not political cowardice, politely declined, not out of malice, but because he believed in biological reality and didn't want to participate in a lie that would confuse children. Within 72 hours, he was suspended. Within 2 weeks, fired. The school board cited failure to create an inclusive environment. Inclusive. Since when did inclusion mean compulsory affirmation of insanity? Since critical legal theory rewrote the rules not to uphold justice, but to enforce ideological conformity. This isn't law. This is lawfare, and it's being used like a cudgel against men who dare to speak truth. Critical legal theory is not theory. It's terrorism disguised as jurisprudence. Born in the fever swamps of Harvard law in the late 1970s, it was midwifed by radicals like Duncan Kennedy and Roberto Unger, men who didn't want to interpret the law, but annihilated their goal to destroy the idea that law is neutral, objective, or grounded in natural justice. Instead, they proclaimed law is nothing more than the weaponization of power by dominant groups. But here's the catch. When you tear down all legal legitimacy in the name of exposing oppression, you don't liberate the oppressed, you empower the next oppressor. And today, that oppressor is the feminist woke DEI industrial complex. And its foot soldiers are administrative tribunals, tenure committees, and human resources departments that operate like Soviet-style commissariats. Let's apply the trivium, gentlemen, because if you're not using logic, rhetoric, and grammar to defend your mind, you've already lost. Take the CLT claim, all law is oppressive because it reflects power structures. Grammar, who is the subject? All law, predical, is oppressive. Why? Because it reflects power structures. Now apply logic. If all law is oppressive, then so is the law protecting you from being murdered or your property from theft. Does that make sense? No. Unless you're a lunatic or a Marxist and rhetoric, they're using emotive language, oppressive, dominant groups to trigger moral panic while smuggling in a totalitarian agenda. The remedy, natural law. The unchanging moral order discovered by reason, articulated by Aquinas, enshrined by Blackstone, and used for centuries to protect men's rights to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness against arbitrary rule. That system worked until the 1970s, when gynocentric sentimentality and Marxist resentment began hijacking the courts. I call it the legal red pill audit, a mental checklist every man must run when the state comes knocking. Ask, is this law protecting my rights or punishing my beliefs? Is due process being followed or bypassed for ideological convenience? Are facts being judged or am I being convicted for dissent? Consider the 2023 Massachusetts custody case where a father, let's call him David, lost full custody of his kids, not because he abused them, not because he missed child support, but because he criticized his wife's trans activism on a private Facebook group. The judge ruled his views created a hostile environment for the child, who identified as non-binary hostile, because dad believes boys have penises and girls have vaginas. This isn't justice. It's injustice with paperwork. The law, once a shield for men against tyranny, has become a sword wielded by hysterical women and their bureaucratic enablers. Follow the trail back to the Frankfurt School, those German Marxists who fled to Columbia University and spent the 20th century plotting cultural revolution. Adorno, Marcuse, Horkheimer, they knew they couldn't win through economics, so they shifted to culture. Destroy the family, Marcuse said. Undermine authority, invert values. And what is critical legal theory if not the legal arm of that strategy? It's no accident that DEI mandates now infect every law firm, bar association, and judicial training program. The American Bar Association, once a defender of legal integrity, now requires diversity statements, loyalty oaths to leftist ideology, just to sit for the bar exam. This is not law. This is thought crime enforcement. And who suffers? Men, fathers, teachers, entrepreneurs. Anyone who refuses to kneel before the altar of female feelings and transgender delusion. Let's talk numbers, because facts are the kryptonite of ideology. According to the Alliance Defending Freedom, over 60% of religious liberty cases in the past decade involve men being punished for refusing to affirm gender ideology. FIRE reports that 75% of campus speech suppression cases target male students and faculty. Meanwhile, in family courts, the most grotesque perversion of law in human history, men lose custody 70% of the time, despite equal or better parenting records. Why? Because the system assumes women are victims and men are suspects. This isn't justice, it's gynocentric bias codified into law. And with abortion rates exceeding 900,000 per year in the US, mostly by women choosing to end male procreated life without consultation, we see the full pattern. Women weaponize emotion, the state weaponizes law, and men are left disarmed, disenfranchised, and discarded. I'll leave you with this. The law was never meant to validate feelings. It was meant to restrain violence, enforce contracts, and protect rights. When we replace truth with trauma, evidence with emotion, and justice with vengeance, we don't create fairness, we create chaos. And in that chaos, only one class thrives: the professional victim class, led by women and their ideological enablers. Wake up, audit every legal demand with the trivium, defend natural law, reject the lie. Because if we don't restore law as the guardian of truth, it will remain the executioner of men. I learned this the hard way through betrayal, silence, and the slow suffocation of my own schedule by women who called it care, while draining me of every hour I owed to my craft, my health, my God. I once spent 72 minutes on a check-in call with a woman who later ghosted me for 3 weeks, then demanded another hour-long therapy session to process the distance. That's not love, that's time predation. And it's not accidental, it's programmed into the feminist curriculum. Extract male time, waste it on emotional theater, then weaponize the fatigue against him when he dares resist. I now guard my minutes like a monk guards his vows, because I've seen what happens when a man surrenders his hours. He wakes up at 47, childless, broken, and wondering why his life built nothing, while others built empires from the time he gave away like alms to a beggar queen. The primacy of time, why a man's hours are his soul. Time is the coin of your life, wrote Henry David Thoreau. It is the only coin you have, and only you can determine how it will be spent. I once watched a man in a Barcelona nightclub stand like a statue while his date, dressed like a fallen Valkyrie in sequins and spite, disappeared into the crowd for 23 minutes. He didn't follow, he didn't check. He didn't do anything, just sipped his drink like a neutered eunuch guarding a harem he couldn't enter. Later in the Uber, she snapped. I felt so unsafe, her voice dripping with the moral authority of a papal indictment. Unsafe? She wasn't assaulted, she wasn't lost. She orchestrated the separation she wanted to see if he would chase. This is not an accident. This is womansplaining in its rawest form, a dominance test disguised as victimhood, a feminist ritual where men are punished for presence and rewarded for servility. And if you think this is isolated, let me tell you, airport terminals, music festivals, subway stations, these are not places of transit. They are battlefields of time theft, where women deploy the lost in the crowd ruse to extract guilt, attention, and future concessions. I've seen grown men, engineers, soldiers, entrepreneurs reduced to trembling apologists because they failed to anticipate a woman's deliberate disappearance. The modern man doesn't lose his woman, he loses his time, and with it, his soul. You are not given time, you are given life in time. Marcus Aurelius rose at dawn, wrote his meditations, trained his mind before his body, and ruled an empire, all before most modern men have finished scrolling TikTok and checking if their woman has texted good morning. The Stoics knew time was the virtue metric, not money, not fame, not orgasms per week. Time was sacred because it was finite and irreplaceable. Contrast that with the average man today, fractured, distracted, addicted to dopamine hits from female validation on dating apps, his attention span shorter than a fruit fly's lifespan. He doesn't own his time, he begs for it back in 15-minute increments between work meetings and emotional check-ins. The medieval monks had it right. They lived by the Opus Dei, the divine office. 7 fixed prayer hours that structured the soul. They didn't balance work and life, they transcended the false dichotomy. Today's man has no such rhythm. His day is a carnival of interruptions. Slack pings, Instagram reels, we need to talk texts, all orchestrated to fragment his focus, to keep him reactive, not reflective, and who benefits? Not him, not his work. Not his legacy. Only the woman who demands date nights, therapy sessions, and emotional labor as tolls for her continued presence. Tolls paid in his time, his energy, his future. Let's talk economics, real economics. Not the Marxist fantasy of shared emotional burden. Women don't need constant connection. They exploit it. The average man spends 11.5 hours per week on relationship maintenance, according to rescue time data, texting, planning dates, listening to rants about coworkers, attending couples therapy. That's really just her monologue. That's 600 hours a year. 600 hours you could have spent mastering a skill, writing a book, building a business, or training your body into a temple. Instead, it's vaporized in the furnace of female emotional consumption. And what do you get in return? A woman who still says you're emotionally unavailable. This isn't love, it's time colonialism. They don't want your heart, they want your hours. They don't care if you're a genius, a warrior, or a saint. If you don't hand over your time on demand, you're neglectful. I know a man who built a 7-figure sales company in 2 years. His wife left him, not because he was abusive, not because he cheated, but because he wasn't present. Present doing what? Watching her paint her nails? Attending another important friend's birthday brunch? No, he was creating. And creation terrifies the parasitic feminine psyche because it cannot control it, consume it, or claim it. So I invented the Time Sovereignty Index, a brutal audit for men to reclaim their lives. Every hour of your day falls into one of 4 categories: creation, consumption, coercion, or connection. Creation is building, making, producing, writing code, lifting weights, composing music. Consumption is Netflix, porn, social media, time stolen from you. Coercion is forced obligations, HR trainings, family court hearings, mandatory fun office parties. Connection is real relationships, your children, your brothers, your mentors. Most men's logs are horrifying. 70% consumption, 20% coercion, 8% connection, 2% creation. You are not a man, you are a ghost haunting your own life. Compare that to Jordan Peterson. He guards his time like a dragon hoards gold. He doesn't do diversity training. He doesn't hop on every podcast. He writes, he teaches, he thinks on his terms. His refusal to waste time is not arrogance, it's spiritual warfare. Every minute he doesn't spend appeasing the feminist mob is a minute reclaimed for truth, beauty, and order. He knows what Marxists and feminists never want you to learn. Time is the battlefield of the soul. And let's be brutally honest about the economic lie that men must work harder to provide. Behavioral economics shows that men who trade time for money, 80-hour work weeks to buy bigger houses, fancier cars, more vacations for women, end up with everything except what matters: health, autonomy, joy. They die early, they go bald from stress. They lose their kids in family court because they were absent working to support the woman who sued them. Meanwhile, the digital nomad in Da Nang, living on $2,000 a month, trading money for time, has more freedom, more creativity, more life than the Wall Street slave. He walks on the beach at noon. He reads Seneca. He doesn't answer to HR or emotional check-ins. He is free. And freedom begins when you stop letting women and their Marxist enablers tax your time like feudal lords. Every date night, every therapy session, every we need to talk is a claim on your sovereignty. Reject it, audit it, fight for every hour like it's the last coin in your soul's treasury. You think she asked you to just talk about that trans bathroom bill because she values your mind? Ha! She asked because she wants to see if you'll flinch when the ideological guillotine drops, and if you'll bow your head like the thousands of beta males in divorce court who nodded along while their wives took the kids. The house and 70% of their income. Wake up. Every time you mutter yes, dear, to feminist nonsense, you hand her another brick of your soul to build her tower of control. I was no different. I once apologized for disagreeing with a woman about climate change, for God's sake, as if truth bends to her mood like a willow in a hurricane. But then I read Schopenhauer's line, "Woman is the incarnation of unreason." Not cruel, not misogynistic, just zoological fact. Like expecting a peacock to solve quadratic equations, we've spent a century pretending women are rational equals while they weaponize emotion like a samurai sword dipped in estrogen. Look at the data. 80% of divorces are initiated by women, 90% of family courts side with mothers regardless of evidence, and men are now 93% of prison suicides, not because we're fragile, but because we're punished for existing as men. I met a programmer in Prague last year who fled California after his wife accused him of emotional neglect for focusing on his startup. She filed for divorce, took the kids, and the court ordered him to pay $7,000 a month, more than his take-home pay. He didn't beat her, didn't cheat, just dared to value his work more than her drama. Meanwhile, women abort 250,000 male fetuses annually in India, and China, just for being boys, selective infanticide not from poverty but preference. Yet here in the West, we're told men are the oppressors. The cognitive dissonance is thicker than a DEI officer's skull. When a woman gets lost at an airport and you hesitate to take charge, she's not confused. She's conducting a field test on your spine. And if you fail, she'll either leave you or slowly poison your confidence until you're a whimpering husk, begging for scraps of affection. That's not love, that's predation with lipstick, but you've read this far. You've faced the abyss and laughed. You've seen how the trans ideology is just Marxism in a dress, how critical legal theory turns justice into a partisan hack job, and how time is the one currency women steal with a smile while you slave for her approval. You now know real masculinity isn't about shouting or flexing, it's about thinking, choosing, and acting when the herd freezes. You've reclaimed your trivium. Your logic is clean, your rhetoric sharp, your grammar uncorrupted by woke jargon. You are no longer a subject of the gynocracy. You are a sovereign, so go teach another man. Send this not to a woman who will twist it, but to the brother sitting in silence, drowning in alimony and regret. Save one mind and you fracture the matrix. The red pill isn't bitter, it tastes like freedom. And freedom, my friend, is the only thing worth dying for or living for. And now the sponsored book introduction, Womansplaining, How Women Manipulate Insufferably. You're reading this because something feels off. Maybe you've been told to shut up for stating a fact. Maybe you've watched a woman flip reality inside out, claim victimhood, and walk away unscathed while you're blamed for a crime you didn't commit. Maybe you've noticed how entire institutions, schools, courts, media operate like extensions of a single emotional hive mind, always tilted against men, logic, and truth. I've lived it. I've been accused, gaslit, cancelled, and condescended to. I've watched as smart, capable men were reduced to emotional wrecks by women who refused to take responsibility, rewrote the past, and weaponized tears like tactical nukes. I've seen relationships collapse, not from lack of love, but from one-sided accountability. I've seen careers derailed by women who shit test first and ask questions never. I've watched young men grow bitter and silent, not because they hate women, but because they've learned that speaking honestly brings punishment, not respect. This book is not for everyone. If you're a woman who believes your emotions are facts, or a man who thinks agreeing with women will earn you love or safety, close this book now. Go watch a rom-com. Scroll TikTok. Drink the Kool-Aid. This is not for you. This book is for men who are awake. Men who've been red-pilled by life, not the internet. Men who see the rot in the culture and want to understand it, not to hate women, but to survive them. Men who value logic over feelings, truth over comfort, and merit over identity. This book is for those who've had enough of being told they're toxic for being competent, selfish for setting boundaries, or oppressive for existing. It's for men who want to reclaim their minds, their relationships, and their future. What you're about to read is not theory, it's autopsy. We dissect the female psyche not to demonize, but to diagnose. We trace how maternal instinct, when repressed, distorted, or weaponized, becomes leftism. We show how emotional reasoning replaces logic, how victimhood is monetized, how gossip and shame form the backbone of social control. You'll learn why women groupthink, why they deny reality, why they attack insight, and why they demand power while refusing responsibility. We expose how the hive mind operates through silence, through sisterhood, through performative outrage. We document the death of accountability in law, love, and life. We reveal how women en masse have become agents of chaos, not nurturers, how consumerism, not motherhood, became their religion, how education, media, and law have been gynocentrically coded to serve female interests at male expense. This is not a self-help book, it's a war manual. You'll learn how to spot manipulation before it lands, how to stop being shit-tested into silence, how to disengage from cry-bullying and gaslighting, how to protect your mind, your wallet, and your future from the emotional roller coaster of modern womanhood. We don't offer false hope, we offer clarity. You'll understand why women rewrite history, why they hate strong men, why they infantilize husbands, and why they project their own darkness onto men. You'll see how hormonal shifts arrested development and lack of identity fueled the machine. You'll grasp why female-dominated spaces become toxic, authoritarian, and irrational. And you'll realize this isn't about individual women. It's about a system, a code, a silent coup executed through emotion, not force. If you're ready to see the world as it is, not as women wish it were, then this book will change your life. It won't make you hate women, it'll make you understand them. And understanding is power. You'll stop blaming yourself for their chaos. You'll stop apologizing for your strength. You'll stop playing the game by rules designed for you to lose. This book is not kind, it's not fair, it's true. And truth is the only thing that can save you now. Womansplaining, How Women Manipulate Insufferably, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.